Hello there. One persistent feeling state that many people struggle with is the feeling of emptiness. Self-help gurus will tell you that if you felt empty before a relationship, you will feel empty during a relationship. But that still leads to the question, if we do feel empty inside, what are we supposed to do about it? Emptiness is like an inner void. Oftentimes it is so painful that the word emptiness doesn't really cover it. It feels more like a starvation or an inner vacuum or a black hole or chasm. The most important quality, though, to recognize is the lack. Emptiness is a state of lack, and lack tips us off to the fact that we are missing something. The key is finding out exactly what we are missing, exactly what we are lacking. What is it that you lost? When we are young, our consciousness, sometimes referred to as our soul, is fractured. It's fractured when we encounter traumatic experiences. When we encounter a traumatic experience, that particular experience causes part of us to stay frozen in time because it is unresolved. When that aspect of us remains frozen in time, it doesn't come with us into the now. It becomes a wound that sticks with us, that continues hurting, that keeps alerting us to the fact that there is some aspect of us which is not completely whole. I discussed this concept in my video on YouTube titled Projection. Now here's the part that applies to a feeling of emptiness. When we are young, if we are traumatized by our needs not getting met, that particular aspect of us that is frozen in time has an unresolved, unmet need. Because of the law of attraction, we experience that need being unmet in present time as well. So often, the thing we are lacking or missing is that need that we have not met at the time in our past that the trauma occurred. For example, say we were wounded as a child because we felt no sense of belonging with our family. That lack of belonging becomes a traumatic imprint. We feel the lack of belonging, and that is really what the emptiness in our adult life is about. When we feel emptiness, because it is like an internal starvation, it is so acutely uncomfortable that we do anything we can to get away from that particular feeling. Now, many self-help experts will tell you that if people feel an inner emptiness or a void, that they will try to fill that void. But I'm here to tell you today that what people do is exactly the opposite. In fact, the very problem is they are not trying to fill the void by finding out what need it is that they have that is unfulfilled. Instead, they try to distract themselves away from the void with things like shopping, things like sex, things like drugs, things like food. I will tip you off to the fact that the majority of people who struggle with a chronic sense of emptiness had parents who were incapable of intimate relationships with them. What that means is that they had parents that were incapable of emotional connection. True, they may have had parents that took care of them in every way on a physical level, but they did not feel seen, they did not feel heard, they did not feel understood, and they did not feel validated by the parental figures. Not only did this wound them and withhold the gift of presence from them, it also made them subconsciously conclude that there in fact must be nothing there inside them. Emotional neglect is the number one cause of the inner void within people. For this reason, self-love is the absolute most important thing for people who feel that inner void or that emptiness. This year, actually, in May 2015, I'm releasing a book that's called Shadows Before Dawn, Finding the Light of Self-Love in Your Darkest Times. So for those of you who are curious about how to love yourself, take a look at that particular book. But if you struggle with a sense of emptiness, try to figure out what it is exactly that you feel empty of. Interesting question, isn't it? If I feel an emptiness, it must be that I'm lacking something. What is it that I'm lacking? Is it a sense of belonging? Is it a sense of meaning? Is it a sense of purpose? Is it interpersonal connection? Maybe what you'll find is that the reason you feel so empty is because you're really, really lonely. Whatever it is that you discover that you're lacking, you want to try to manifest that. So apply your manifestation skills to achieving that thing which your life is void of. Now, one of the best ways I've found of manifesting something is to begin getting yourself into the vibrational set point of that thing you want to manifest by looking at your life in terms of how you already have that thing that you want. So if I'm lacking belonging, how do I belong in my life right now? The next thing you want to do is to meet your needs. This step is absolutely imperative. But of course, we've run up against another wall. Why? Because the majority of people who are in the self-help field and who are in the spiritual field have this idea that needs are not okay. Well, that's a problem. Why? Because absolutely everybody has needs, regardless of whether you want to admit it or not. You have needs. What makes a need painful is when we think we can't get what we need. And often the reasons we think we can't get our need met is because we think we have to meet the need ourselves, by ourselves, as if it is possible to be an island unto ourselves. The river doesn't drink itself, my friends. Many times the empowering thing is not just to meet a need ourselves. It is to instead take action to get up and go find someone to meet the need, or to open up so someone else can meet the need. For example, if your need is for company, you don't need to spend your time trying to figure out how to be your own company. Just go find company. Also, anytime we feel that internal void or that emptiness within us, it's important that we gift that void our unconditional presence. I've developed a process for this, which I unveiled in my video that is titled, How to Heal the Emotional Body. So when you feel that inner void, I want you to do that process. And instead of trying to avoid that emotional emptiness, trying to get out of it, or trying to distract yourself with something, what I want you to do is the exact opposite. I want you to sink down into the void, to give it unconditional presence and focused attention. I want you to give it company. Also, this process will allow you to bring those fractured aspects of yourself, which are in fact the causation of this inner void, back with you into the present moment so that you can integrate that aspect of yourself and become whole again so that void literally no longer exists. We often think that that inner void or that emptiness that is chronic within us is one of the most difficult problems to solve, when in fact it is one of the easiest problems to solve, because it really is just a matter of finding that we were wounded because needs of ours were not met, and then it is a matter of meeting those unmet needs. Have a good week.